Yeah, right, like a big shot. Welcome back to the channel, guys. So today I'm going to talk about the difference between the schools in Sweden and the US, my experience. So let me start with completely different, by the way, completely different. But let me start with the cost. In Sweden, when I did my tracking, I spent around 50,000 Swedish crown. That is roughly about $5,000, and and in the US, the school that I go to, I only paid $1,900, 55. But this is the thing. What I've heard from everyone is that it's different from like the schools. Some schools charge highly, some are low cost. Like this one is really like 1,900. It wasn't that bad, but in Sweden it was around 50,000 Swedish crown. That is about $5,000. So when it comes to the cost, I think in Sweden it's more expensive than in the US, but also it's because in Sweden, when you're learning to be a truck driver, you first do the small, the first truck, C license, then you add on CE. That's like when you're pulling like a trailer. So it's two different ones. But in the US, it's only one. You only do the CDLA, and then you have your commercial driver's license. So that's the difference. So I think that's where the cost kind of like differs. But also in the US, like my school, you can have part payments, which was really good. In Sweden, I don't remember doing that because I think my teacher was like, no, you cannot pay in bits. But I think when I was studying, she kind of like made an exemption for me. Like she was like, okay, you can, but you have to give me like, I think like 70% of the whole cost, and then you can have the 30 later on. But so that is one big difference between tracking in the Sweden and US and the cost. The cost here is not that much compared to Sweden, I think. Yeah, that's my observation. And then the training style. So the training style, I mean like, because like in Sweden, this is what happens. Like the first period, you have your book, you study and everything, and then after that, you go to the transport studio, say that is where you have the exam. So when you're done with that, then you have to attend ECOB, Yrkes Kompetensbevis. That is like, you need this to be a professional driver. Okay, if you fail on that, you cannot be a professional driver. Now that you need like a full month in class. I had to take like a month off work just to attend that, because even if you miss a day, you won't have the exams. You won't see the exams in the end. But then in the US, of course, same thing. You go to the DMV and then you do the theory and everything, the written test. But then you go to the school, the tracking school. But now when you go to the tracking school, now the only thing you do is to learn how to drive. That is it. So for them, they don't have that specific, because in Sweden you have the normal exam, the exam like written test, like, but then you have ECOB, which is also written. So the two written exams before you go to the driving. In the US, you only have the written and the driving. Two exams. In Sweden, two written like different tests, and then the driving. Actually, in the US, you have three, because you have like exams on the air brakes, exams on the pulling doubles or triples, and then the general exam. So that's three different exams. Actually, I did three different exams on the same day. Thank God I passed all of them on the first try. That takes me to this next point. I think the exams in the US were very easy to pass. I don't know if it's because I was like used to this. I've done it already, so it was easier. But I feel like the questions were very easy to pass. Like they weren't that hard. Compared to Sweden, I think the exams are really hard. Now, when it comes to ECOB, in ECOB, it's because YKB actually. So ECOB, it's because the pass mark, the grading is really high. You have to fail very minimal to pass, because I think most people fail on the ECOB. The general questions about the tracking, everyone usually they get that, but when they get to the ECOB, this is where things get a little bit messy. And people fail that. When I was doing my exams in Sweden, I think the first one I passed on the first try, equal B, first try. It was when I was doing the doubles, because I was driving doubles. That's when I did one exam, I think. No, I passed that on the first try as well. Yeah, it was the first general exam actually that I did twice. Yes, I remember. But other than that, I just went through it easily. So, yes, when it comes to the testing, I feel like the Swedish testing is a bit harder. Like the questions were a bit harder, like to pass. I feel like the American questions when I was there, they were like very easy. I was like, anyone in the US, if you get them today, take them to Sweden to sit exams there, they would fail. 100%. I guarantee you they would fail. But I'm not going to bet money on that, but I think they would fail. But yeah, so how the exams are like a bit complicated. Yes, the Swedish exams are a little bit complicated compared to this. The training style. My next point. So the training style in Sweden, like we used to have one track on the school, but the teacher would like give you like a different schedule. Like, hey, this day is for this person, this day is for that. That is the driving. So you get out of the class after having the study and everything. You like drive. You have like 45 minutes. You go do inspections. You drive around, you go on the freeway, you go on the through the roundabouts, through the lights, you try to back up somewhere. So you literally train everything in those 45 minutes. On the other side, here in the US, well, at that school that I am, you have, like I showed you in one of my past videos, if you can check my past videos, you have a week, you come and practice driving back and forth. You drive to the front, reverse, very boring. The next day, not the next day, but maybe after a week, you go when you have to do the parallel parking. That's a full week. Then you have another week, there were 2 weeks. You go to the freeway, 2 weeks freeway, but then you have like 10-15 minutes. You get it. I feel like I didn't get a lot of time to really practice, but it wasn't that hard because the thing that actually they want you to train on most was, what do you call it? Double shifting? Yeah, double shifting. Exactly. You step on the clutch twice and then to change gears. Now that was something new to me because in Sweden you learn with the gearbox. They call it a stick shift here. You learn with that, but then when you go to the CE, you learn, well, it was automatic. But when I was doing the one with the gearbox, the stick shift, how they call it in the US, we never used to do the double clutch. No, you don't double clutch when you're changing gears. You just put it in gear and then go, and then that's it. Nothing complicated. So here you need to double clutch. I asked one of my teachers at the school, I was like, wait, so why do we double clutch? He was like, I don't know. That's what DMV wants us to do, to teach you guys. So just learn how to do it. I was like, okay. I was trying to know why we actually have to double clutch. And he was telling me, no, I have no idea why we double clutch. You just have to learn it and pass. Anyway, so you need to learn how to double clutch in the US. So that's a very big change from Sweden. Here, you need to double clutch. In Sweden, you don't need to double clutch. Then, the trucks they use here, okay, at my school, they're really old trucks. Yep. So when we go to the equipment used, I feel like the equipment used in Sweden is a little bit modernized. It's like newer trucks and everything. But here, like at my school, they're really old trucks. Like if you go on the inside, one day I'm gonna do a video when I'm inside the trucks. You're gonna see how old they are. They're really old, like really old trucks. And yeah, I mean they do maintenance on them, but it feels like, yeah, if you compare them to Sweden, I mean like they're pretty old, most of the trucks. So and then how they train you how to drive. In Sweden, they want you to eco-friendly, eco-driving. They want you to save energy. They don't want you to waste a lot of gas. They want you to drive in a way that you save fuel. You do all these things when you're changing gears. You don't grind them, but they want you to come up in gears so quick, like from maybe 1, 2, skip 4, come to 5, put up, go up in the higher gears as quick as possible. In the US, actually, when I was in the class, I asked my teacher, I was like, okay, can I skip? He was like, what do you mean? Can you skip? I was like, can I skip from if I go to first and second gear, can I skip the third and I go to fourth, then maybe skip the fifth and go to the sixth, and come up? It's like, no, you have to go through all the gears. I was like, okay. I was like, okay, but do you know that actually you can skip gears? I was like, yeah, we know people from other countries, they can skip from other regions, but here you have to go through all the gears. So that's another thing. In the US, you don't skip gears. You go through all the gears. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, go up, throughout all of them. In Sweden, you skip, starting maybe 2, maybe skip 3, go to 4, depending on where you are. But they advise you to skip, to go up. Like Sweden, they teach you to drive the truck in a more steady speed, not changing gears a lot. And they want you to come up in gears as quick as possible, so you don't have to, because every time you change the gears, emissions and all that, here they don't care about emissions. They're like, you can burn the fuel, it's okay, we have a lot. So yeah, that's a very big difference. So fast forward, do I think the schools here in the US are better than the ones in Sweden? In my school, from my experience, I feel like I had a better grip of everything, how they did it there compared to the US. Because even when you go out to drive on the freeway, you have like a few minutes, like 15 minutes or 10, before you get into the rhythm of, double clutching and, finding where the gear is at. Time is up. You have to go back to the yard because there are many people waiting to drive after you. So I feel like in Sweden, you have more time to drive and really learn. And because it's about the rhythm, finding the gears, knowing when to change the gears, when the RPMs go up, and when they go down, when to downshift and everything. I feel like you have more time on the road than, anyway, it works for them. But I think what they really want you to learn is to double clutch. I don't think you need a lot of time. You don't need 45 minutes for 2 weeks, because I did 2 weeks on the street. You just need to know when to double clutch, when to go into neutral and then up and down, and that's it. Well, so in conclusion, I think that the tracking school, my tracking school in the US, it's good, but my tracking school in Sweden was better. So overall, it doesn't matter where you're learning from. You're still gonna learn the same thing. It's just you're gonna learn it a different way. So it doesn't matter where you learn it from. But me coming from 2 different parts of the world, and I can compare, so I can give the comparison between the way they teach here and how they teach there. So I have that opportunity. But at the end of the day, I feel like in Sweden, the way they taught us, it was better, like when it comes to the environment and everything, and it was smooth. Here, like the way you change the gears, like you're just jumping the truck, like jeez. They're not very gentle with the trucks. Let me put it that way. They're not gentle at all. Like you have to change the gears, like my teacher was like, I was like, damn. But anyway, all in all, I'm gonna be doing another video where I'm gonna be talking about the air brakes and all those things, like I promised. So, but let me know. Put down in the comments. Tell me if you have the opportunity that you've learned tracking in a different place and you moved to a different country. The difference, was it the same? Or if you're in the US and you have your school, your experience, I would like to know, like, what's your experience like? What's your experience like, in your American tracking school? And from what I've said, what do you think, or where do you think, or what do you think is best, the American school or the Swedish school? So thank you very much, and don't forget, like, subscribe, and comment, and ride like a big shot. I'm out.